and welcome to the What the Falk podcast at the Euros. That's right, we are going to be doing a podcast that will refuse to mention Sunderland AFC as a word, or a word in three letters if you prefer, until at least July, when we will probably appoint a new manager and have to speak about it. But we are planning on solely concentrating on a feast of football this summer, which will hopefully and probably certainly end in Harry Kane lifting the European Championship above his head. Probably. Our first in the series episodes, concentrating on the Euros over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about... but the voices that are going to be with me might not be talking about Sunderland, but they're going to be recognisable ones. First and foremost, Brad Sharp. Brad, you've done a couple of these ones before, but how are you doing? Are you all right?
Yes, mate, very good. I'm not going to mention the team that you said at the start. A couple of weeks away from that, I'm actually starting to get that little bit of a buzz since the England team's been announced. It's like that little bit of optimism, isn't it, that you get with every tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it now. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but when you see that team that was announced, we've got an embarrassment of riches in that forward in the forwards. It's a joke how good we are going forward. So I'm feeling more confident in this one than I have in previous ones. But yeah, on the whole, I'm very good. How are you, Graham?
Yeah, very well. I've fully enjoyed having a couple of weeks off from the podcast. I'm not going to lie about that. It's been a busy few weeks, job promotion, stuff like that. Got kind of a promotion. So it's been nice to have a few weeks off, but it is a miss having a chat with the lads, and hopefully people who listen feel exactly the same. If you don't, switch off now. Ross, how are you doing, mate? You all right? You've got Euros fever. You got your England shirt on?
I'm ready for it, mate. Like I'm about a week away from getting the flags out the window. Now I'm even going to one of the warm-up games and everything, so I'm proper in Euro mode. Me, I was even contemplating getting the sticker book. Then I seen it was like a £5 a pack, and I was like, nah, that's ridiculous. The game's gone.
I completed the last Euro sticker collection, and I was like buzzing when we got to the final, because I was like, you know what it is? Like, I might collect the sticker book for the first time that England have won the Euros, and then Rashford did a shimmy, and well, the rest is history, innit? But no, I'm really excited. Like, I'm sure we'll get into it, Ross, because obviously we met via England, not Sunderland. But I think the big thing for me is we talk a lot about Sunderland on this show. Like, I think people know we absolutely love Sunderland, but something that people probably don't know a lot about me is that I absolutely love England in tournaments. Part of the England supporters group, and the amount of people I think I'm Scottish just because I live in Glasgow is actually quite annoying. I've got no hate towards Scotland at all. I like beating them as much as anyone else, but I'm very much English. Dave, I haven't introduced you yet. I'm going off on a tangent here, and Ross was going to say something, so I thought it was quite funny to interrupt him and stop him there. Away for 2 weeks and straight back in the swing of it. How are you doing,
What I
David?
was going to say,
What are you
Graham,
going to
sorry,
say?
I need to
What are you
override.
saying?
It's because of that shit accent you've got, innit?
No?
You've got a proper shit accent, and that's where it counts. That's where you let yourself down. But I just had to get that in there.
Dave, how are you doing? Are you all right?
So yeah, it's a great start to another What the Falk podcast. Yeah, all good, mate. I'm just because we all know that everyone on the internet likes to listen to me being in excruciating pain. I am looking forward to another tournament of disappointment. So much promise, so much optimism to ultimately fall at the last hurdle. So yeah, there's my input. Can't wait. No, but to be fair, I'm absolutely buzzing for it. Like Brad says, it's an absolute ridiculous. I think it's better than our original golden generation in it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait. Well, maybe the group stage they don't really care about, because if what is it? It's this new 2014 format, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd imagine one win probably gets you through in best third place. But yeah, can't wait. Let's get it underway.
Is anyone going to the tournament at all? I am for one game, but raise your hand if you're going. If no one raises the hand, I'll just assume it's me on me Todd. Right, sound brilliant. Okay, just me then. Right, Brad, I'll come back to you. I think we're all excited for the Euros. I think, like, look, we all want England to win. I think that's pretty much the case. Um, but I think it's great. I love tournament football. I think it's the pinnacle. I don't think there's anything better. Um, but I said before, we're talking an awful lot about Sunderland and what that means to us. But I think something people probably don't know about us, might care about us even, is our relationship with international football. Because I know people are very different. Some people really hate it. Me personally, I love it. Been to see England in numerous games at Wembley for qualifiers, friendlies, and been to see them at major tournaments before. I absolutely love it. But sorry, not Ross, Brad. What's your relationship with international football? Is it something that you love just at tournaments, or something you're on board with all the time?
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because as much as like I love watching football on the telly, when England are playing against the likes of Moldova and that, it's a bit hard to watch. But yeah, so I think I'm more of just the tournament, if I'm honest with you. But don't get us wrong, when we are playing like the Moldova, Andorra, San Marino, I do want us to go out there and win. But it would be funny if we got beat in them games.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't.
It would. It would be. Come on. But no, I mean the tournament football, it's different because even though I think it's just like everywhere you go in the shops, it's just England. Everyone's talking about, the pubs are packed. It does annoy me though when I go to the pub to watch it, and recall being there for, I don't know, Bournemouth versus West Ham on a Super Sunday, and now nicking my seats, so I have to stand up sometimes. That annoys me. But yeah, I'm more of just a tournament guy. And what people might not know as well, or they might, is I am actually more Scottish than you. So I've got two teams going into this one. But don't get me wrong, when England plays Scotland as they did last time, I'm 100% England. But every other time I'm 50-50. 70-30.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing them do all right. I think probably because of where I live and family and stuff like that. But like I say, I've got nothing against them. I like beating them as much as I like beating Moldova. Apart from, unless it's you, Brad, and we're beating Moldova. But I think, yeah, I've got to be honest and say, like, I love it all the time. I was really, really lucky to see. I've seen England, the Lionesses, win a tournament, missed only one game in the entire run, which was the Spain quarter-final, which was a fantastic experience. And I was at the last Euros for the game against Germany, and I was at the last Euros for the game against Denmark, which I think the amount of stress I went through in that Denmark game, my head might have actually popped off at some point. Having genuine hope in your football team, which is something we're not used to with Sunderland, can be quite a scary thing. But Ross, I wanted to throw the question of tournament football to you, and your relationship with international football in England, particularly because I don't think many people know it, and it was one of the best nights of my life, and I'm not frightened to say that, Ross. I love you. The night we beat Germany was the night we met, and it was in London, King's Cross, and it was an absolutely fucking class night, wasn't it?
It was. So yeah, I was lucky enough. My mate Luke got us tickets for the Germany game.
He needed a shit fucking hour on the way back.
Aye. It was to be fair, it was probably the first decent crowd as well after COVID in any football stadium in the world. And the atmosphere, like, it's hard to describe. It was just unbelievable from start to finish. And the limbs when Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling scored that day was something I've never witnessed before. Like,
I agree with you on that.
Bodies everywhere. And
best game I've ever been to in my life, period.
Yeah, like the emotion after it, I think it was because, like, see, it did have something to do with the lockdown at the time.
Definitely.
But it just felt special, didn't it? And let's be honest, like, we've beat Germany in knockout football twice, and we've seen one of them. Like, it's not bad going. But yeah, I love watching England. I don't know why, I always have as a kid as well. Obviously, I can say this now because it is an England podcast, but not all my family supports Sunderland, so it's also slightly nice to actually watch the game with some of my family who I normally would never watch football with, and it's such a bizarre thing. And yeah, I've just always loved it, and I was lucky enough to go to England, Scotland as well at Wembley for Gareth Southgate's first game, which we won 3-0. I had tickets for that one. So yeah, I wish I got to more. I am going to the Bosnia game, the
Hmm.
warm-up game. So I'm looking forward to that. And let's, like I say, I really do think we've got a good chance. But the only thing is, I just wish we had a left back.
Then the circle. If only you were fit. Um, yeah, but
Oh, if Leo Hjelde was alive.
if you don't understand that joke, listen back to the last episode, and please don't panic that anyone has died. In joke, which is not that in if you've listened to the last episode. However, no, I can't echo it enough. I speak about that Germany game quite a bit. I think the magnitude of it, knockout game, England, Germany, old rivals. I absolutely love the Germans, to be fair. But when it comes to England, Germany, like it's England, Germany, and that's the big international fixture and the big international rivalry. And I think Muller missing that chance and the lad next to me saying, "Mate, I think this might be our day," Um, then we had a great night afterwards. Like I sort of knew Ross off Twitter a bit and Luke off Twitter. And Luke held in his shit all the way from Wembley, all the way to King's Cross, to the point where like
Sweat was dripping off his head with the panic. It was one of them moments where we're going to say it out loud now, and people are going to listen to this first time, going, "What the fuck are they on about?" But when you're watching a man who's so happy yet struggles so much in life to hold in a shite on a tube where it's like packed to the rafters, you've got to wear a mask on public transport at this stage as well, by the way. But yeah, we did just. I was meant to get the train. It's worth noting that I was actually meant to be on the 9 o'clock train home, and I didn't get home until in the northeast till 4 o'clock the next afternoon. So that went down well.
that bar was class, wasn't it? Remember that?
Yeah,
I
we
know
just
this
found this random bar in
people
King's Cross.
people aren't going to care, but we it was one of those nights where, and I think people might identify with this. Your team's done well, you're getting on with people like a house on fire, met them for the first time, sort of thing. And just like the pints are going down, even the ninth, 10th pint's going down just so well, and you're still not drunk to the point where you're incoherent. But whenever I think of that night, I don't actually think of that. I think of Luke, if you remember, just so people understand how this went, holding the shite in for the best part of an hour. And then if you remember, he got to the hotel and like ran to the hotel toilet, came out about 5 minutes later and went, I've held it in for too long. I can't do it. And he had to go back like 10 minutes later to go back. And he was like, "Yeah, it's done. I've done it. It's all right." But
But yeah, but again, yeah, add to that, like obviously about the tournament football, the whole I've never like obviously I love going to London personally, but I do get that sometimes it can be not the friendliest place in the world. Like
yeah.
it's not like the North. Let's be honest, it's different culture and social side's a bit different. But everybody that night was just like so happy, and everyone was talking to everyone,
Hmm.
and it was just a proper party atmosphere. The whole country, I think, after that game started to fully believe that God, this is on now, like, and we were a few penalties away. But again, let's hope we can go one step further. And wouldn't it be sweet to win in Germany?
Yeah. It's very weird. I'm not having been underconfident in the past few tournaments, but this one I'm kind of like you always look at other teams, and I'm sure we'll come on to it and how far we think we can go. I don't really want to say, but I've been confident for the past few, but I do genuinely look at our team and sometimes look at other teams, look at like a France or Spain or, in the past other teams and you go, we're just not quite as good as them. And football's not played on paper, but I've been lucky enough to see England quite a few times over the past couple of years, particularly when Bellingham's came into the team. And my God, like some of that quality that we have up top, it's really hard to look at the other teams and be confidently and honestly say without feeling just saying something to make you kind of temper your own expectations that we're not the best side in the world, at least on paper. But it has to be proved. But let's get into the squad a bit before I kind of get too optimistic. Squad in full at the moment's got 33, need to be whittled down to sort of 26. So yeah, it's quite a big amount of players that need to be cut from the squad. Let's be honest, it's not going to be any of them, all 33 of them, sorry, that go to that tournament. there's going to have to be 7 that are cut. The squad in full, just obviously so people are aware of it. I think the goalkeepers you've got are obviously Pickford, James Trafford, Dean Henderson, and you've also got Aaron Ramsdale. The defense has got a lot of new faces in there, a lot of the faces you would expect to have in there at the same time. But you've got Kyle Walker, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Kieran Trippier, Luke Shaw, Joe Gomez, Mark Gahey, Lewis Dunk, Ezri Konsa, Jared Branthwaite, Gerald Quansah, Declan Rice in midfield, Jude in midfield, Trent in midfield, Conor Gallagher, James Maddison, Kobe Mino, Curtis Jones, Adam Wharton, and then your forwards, which is just ridiculous. Harry Kane, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, Ollie Watkins, Jared Bowen, Ivan Toney, Eze, Anthony Gordon, and Cole Palmer. Dave, I'll come to you first, and this is probably the most difficult question I could ask you because I don't even think Gareth Southgate's going to be able to answer this one. Initial thoughts on the squad first and foremost, and then who are the 7 players that miss out for you?
Yeah, like I'm kind of glad yet surprised that Rashford didn't get in. I don't think he's been great this season. So it's nice to see a few new names in there. It's probably going to come a little bit too early for a few of them, I would have thought. But yeah, just exciting and nice to see players in there who are on form. People like Eze, Watkins, Watkins has had a good season. Tony's been doing it for a couple of seasons, albeit he had 6 months off or whatever it was. The 7 that miss out, it's you're probably going to get a wild card, aren't you? But I think goalkeeper. Do I think Ramsdale or Trafford? It's probably going to be Trafford who misses out for me. I think defenders wise, I can't for the life of me think that Quansah gets in. I really hope Jared Braithwaite does. There's something about I quite like him, especially we've discussed it a little bit this week in the chat, and I have this idea that I'd love us to defend with 4 and just absolutely try and torture the rest of the world with 6 up top. I don't think it's going to happen. But from there, do I maybe think Lewis Dunk misses out as well? Potentially. That's 3. I don't think Adam Wharton gets in, personally. That'd give us 4. And then after that, geez.
The quality that's missed out and the quality that's going to miss out. I mean, my 7's pretty similar to yours, Dave. I've got Trafford, Quansah, Joe Gomez, and Konsa. I would take Lewis Dunk personally, but then the other players that I'm missing out on are like easily about £150 million worth of player. I'm leaving at home Jared Bowen, Ivan Toney, and James Maddison. And it's not because I don't rate any of them. We've got better players, which is just...
Yeah, weirdly, that would have been. I'd have said Bourne as well. I'd have said Maddison, and then I think it would have been. I think it would have been as well. The only one is there half a chance, and I know Southgate likes him. Is there half a chance that Gallagher misses out and Wharton does miss it? Does fit in right at the end? Is that there's normally one, isn't there? There's normally one surprise package every time we come around. And I don't know what it is. There's just part of me thinks that Wharton maybe squeezes in.
I think he will because he's one of only. Look, I haven't really watched Wharton apart from when he played for Blackburn last year against us, which is like no real. At this level, you can't really judge that. I get the feeling the amount of defense because I looked at like who we have to cover at centre back in a back 3 and also in a back 2, and you've got based on who I would pick, you've got Branthwaite, Dunk, Kyle Walker can fit into a 3. You've got Mark Gahey, Maguire, and Stones, of course. I think that's enough to cover us where you could leave Gomez, Konsa, and Quansah at home as defenders and still take Wharton and still take Gallagher as well. I think centre half, so we've got enough. I mean, Ross, is that something that you'd agree with? I think you could see three defenders missing out from that list. I think you'll take Wharton.
Yeah, I'd also take Wharton. I've watched Palace a few times on the telly because I'm sad like that, and he's looked absolutely superb. I tweeted during the Man United game that he should be on the plane due to our lack of, I'd say, experience in centre midfield. If you're gonna have to take some of these young ones, he's definitely one. Um, I think the elephant in the room is I don't think Luke Shaw's going to make it. He hasn't played a game for months,
But
and it's
just,
one.
if he doesn't make it, right? I was thinking that whether you're playing a back four or a back three, who goes into your left wing back / left back position?
It's going to be Trippier, I think, because he's
Well,
played there before for England.
yeah, but Trippier's got his injury problems, and that's what makes me think when Dave was talking, I think he'll take Joe Gomez because he has played left back for Liverpool in the absence of Andy Robertson this season.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
So I think Joe Gomez because he can play left of a back three and he can play left back, so he'll be there as a backup. But I still think he'll take Shaw and the hope that he does get fit because he is the best left back that we've got. But I think Joe Gomez because he's a player that can fit in at centre half or left back if needed.
Is there an argument to say then, although he hasn't had the greatest of seasons, that maybe Ross Chilwell should have went based on the fact that Luke Shaw might not be fit as a kind of specialist left back?
Potentially, yeah, but also he's picked for the first time, I think, in his tenure. He's picked players in the squad who are in the best form,
We say
and
that,
he's
but he's
been
picked James Trafford over Jack Butland, which people will say is my kind of Scottish bias I've got up here from watching football. But Jack Butland's had a far better season than James Trafford.
potentially, yeah, but also Trafford. Again, we're on about form club level. He hasn't been that good, but when he's played for the under 21s, he's been superb. So I think that's probably what's got on the edge because they do like to have this pathway, don't they? It's like my seven. I'll just put out there. I got Trafford. I'm missing out. I've got Dunk, Quansah, Shaw due to injuries, Madison pretty much because everyone else is a much of a muchness and there's just better quality there. I've got Curtis Jones missing out too. Um, I don't think he brings his main qualities aren't better than the other centre midfielders in my opinion, or especially in form wise at the minute. In the forward, I've got missing out Jared Bourne because he's not an out and out striker, and he's not good enough to play on the wings against the wingers we've got, in my opinion. So again, it's much of a muchness, and it wouldn't surprise if I was one or two either way. But when he's up against the likes of Saka, Gordon, and that, he's not going to get in ahead of them, in my opinion.
No, out of curiosity, because I haven't really branched on it, because Rashford's like the big talking point. I've mentioned Butland there. Obviously, there's a Sunderland lad that's missed out in Jordan Henderson as well, but like I think you can all maybe understand the reasons for all of them. I personally would have probably took Rashford just for tournament experience. I think when he plays for England, he does well, but then I also understand the argument of picking players on form, and whether I agree with that or not, I don't think it really matters. I understand both of them, but is there anyone else, Ross, you think outside of the names I've mentioned that was maybe a bit unlucky to miss out, at least on a place in the 33, maybe not the 26, but the 33?
There's a couple. I think in defence, Tomori's probably unlucky. I think he probably he's had a better season than likes of Lewis Dunk, who I think struggled, especially at the end.
Jack Clark?
Um, not quite. I think Levi Colwell's unlucky because he can play centre back and left back. So if you're on about like taking Gomez as cover, he's more of a natural replacement on the left hand side. And I also think that Solanke's probably unlucky because he's had a better season than Tony. Although I do believe Tony could probably play the lone striker role a bit better, and maybe that's why he's chosen over him. Or he might just want some good odds for the rest of the tournament.
You know, what about one name I want to throw at you, Brad, because I want to ask you the same question to see if there's anything you missed out as well. But one person, he's only had one cap, obviously, which is one more than some people in that squad that have got none. But Rico Lewis at City, I know he's not regular at City, but I mean, City's pretty good. Was he maybe a bit unlucky with the fact that we're not that strong and he can play full back, although he's a right back?
For me, no. he has got a lot of talent. I think this one maybe came a couple of years too early. Look, he probably will get a bit more experience and be in that World Cup squad in a couple of years. But I think it was the right decision not to include him. But I do agree with Ross. Dominic Solanke, I think it's a bit shit that he's not in there. He's had the season of his career, really. And whenever you've watched him play this season, if you've managed to get like any of the Super Sundays or Saturday Night Football and Bournemouth have been on, he's been superb. And his numbers speak for themselves as well. I think Bournemouth, if I'm right in thinking, they've probably finished the highest they've ever finished in the Premier League. And he's a massive part of that. So for him to be left out, I think it's slightly unfair when you see some of the players that have been included. But I also agree with Ross. Ivan Toney will stay in because although he hasn't scored many this season, I don't think he scored since February or March. He offers something different to Kane. If we are trailing or anything like that, he's a more of a physical presence who can play that lone striker and maybe bring something a little bit different. But for me, no, not really. Lewis, look, he is a good young player in a very, very good, talented Man City squad. But he's got age on he's got time on his side because of his age.
He's only a 19
so look,
still, yeah.
Give him a couple of years. If he wants to go and play, he might even go and play in a tournament with the 21s, which will be giving him good tournament exposure, and then throw him in. If he played 30 plus games for Man City this season, and obviously they've won the league and what have you, then my answer might be different, but I think he's only played like 15 to 20 games. He's been in and out. So that's not a good run to prepare him for like a tournament of this magnitude. But he's got potential to be there in the next tournament. No doubt about that.
I'm going to like throw this question out to everyone because we've been discussing it like in our chat anyway. I will say if you want to pick a mag in this, you're welcome to it. It's an England show. You will be banned from next season, Dave, but you'll be allowed on the podcast for next however long we do this pod for. But look, a total abundance of riches. We've all kind of randomly picked teams in the group chat this week, Lee included, and we've chopped them, we've changed, and we've gone, what about this guy? What about this guy? What about putting this person in 10, that person in the 10? It's a headache I wish that I had. I hope Southgate really lets them loose. And I'm far from an anti-Southgate man, but I do think he needs to let them loose at this tournament. So, you know, mine would be far more attacking. But before I give you mine, Dave, what's your starting 11 for the game against who we got versus Serbia?
So, as we spoke about this week, I'm slightly a little bit more controversial with kind of my formation. So it would always be Pickford in goal. I think he's absolutely fantastic for England. And if you spoke to any Everton fan, they'd agree how good he's been as well. My back three would be Stones in the middle, Walker to the right. Can't quite believe I'm saying this, but Harry Maguire to the left. Just in front of that.
I'm a big Harry Maguire defender, so no shame, sir. I'm with you on this.
It's just that back three. Like I remember, did we play Brazil? Was it a warm up friendly? And
yeah,
he played at that left centre half, and because he had so much time and space on the ball, I thought he looked fantastic. He was probably still at Leicester at the time, probably half the reason that United decided to sign him. So yeah, I'd go Maguire as my left centre half. I'd go Declan Rice in front of the three of them, and then for me, you'd call them wing backs if you want, but this is where I think to myself, you just let the six of them in front just absolutely do what they want. You already know where I'm going because you've mentioned the mag comment, and unfortunately, yeah, I'm no mag lover like Ross, but to be fair, I'd go Gordon on the left. I just like the chip he's got on his shoulder. It's a shame he plays for them. I still wish he was at Everton, but you know,
I don't like it. But from an England perspective, I mean, he's had a nice season.
Right, yeah. So I'll concur with that. I'd go Saka on the right. I'd then have two number. I'd then play two number 10s. I'd go Bellingham and Foden in behind. Um, and then I'd go two centre forwards as well, and really try and keep us on the front foot. And from there, I'd go Kane. Oh, my second one, I would go Watkins as well. So yeah, that'd be me. Of course, you could go. I just think it should be fluid. I think everything about it should be absolutely fluid, and I really
Dave, will
hope.
you just pick your fucking team so we can pick some as well? He doesn't pay for Zoom.
I was just thinking that, to be fair. Right, so hang on. Dave's got Pickers, Walker, Stones, Maguire, then basically playing really advanced wing backs of Saka and Gordon. Your midfield being Rice, your sitter, Bellingham, and Foden as your two tens, and Kane and Watkins as your forward. Yeah, not bad. I'll give you mine quick and I'll hand over to Brad. I'll go one of two. So my initial thoughts is back three, which is Pickford, Walker, Stones, Maguire, Trent right wing back, Luke Shaw if he's fit left wing back, Rice in the middle. Three sort of players behind Kane, which would be Jude, Foden, Palmer, and Harry Kane. If we're going back four, I'm going Pickford, Walker right back, Stones, Maguire, Shaw left back, Rice holding. I'd go Saka on the right, Gordon on the left. I'd go Foden and Bellingham in the 10 and Kane. You could switch Gordon and Palmer around. I'm not really fussed. I think they both do a really good job. Brad, what's your pick?
Same back four with you, or back three really, but I'll go with back four. In front of them, I'd have Rice and Bellingham, and then my three behind Kane, I would have, and I know it's controversial because Foden's outstanding in the 10, but I'd have Foden on the right, I'd have Gordon on the left, and I'd have Palmer behind Kane. Now, the reason I'm not putting Foden in the 10 is what I put in the group is I think Bellingham and Foden are probably two of the best number 10s in the world. However, they are equally as outstanding anywhere else. But Cole Palmer is exceptional in there. So to fit him in, I would move Foden, but also give him the free rein just to come inside if he wants. Because I think we gain more by moving them two than bringing anyone else in. Now, there is the argument of Saka, but that's my four. Rice and Bellingham in front. Tell her what, Sunderland, can't you? 4-2-3-1. Yeah. That front four, front six, whatever you want, is so interchangeable. It's frightening.
Quick question before I hand over to Ross. Who's our key player for you, Brad? You can only literally pick one. Who's the player that wins us the Euros if we win it?
Phil Foden.
I'm saying Bellingham, but Ross, I'll hand over to you so you got time to give a bit more of an overview of what you think.
Pretty similar. Pickford in goal. Walker right back. Stones, Maguire as a two, and then whoever's fit enough to kick a ball at left back who's played there before. I think that's the way we're going to go. I am going to be controversial here, and I think it's going to be Rice and another centre midfielder who isn't Bellingham. I think we're taking for granted that in tournament football you need to control the games, and I think that's what we did really well in the Euros last time out, and we kind of lost our way a bit again doing that in the World Cup until Henderson was there. And remember when Henderson was brought back in alongside Rice, we looked a much better outfit. So I think that you probably go with a Kobe Mano or even a Trent there alongside Declan Rice in the midfield. Then my front three I'd be the same. I'd have Foden on the right, Bellingham in the 10, Gordon on the left, and Kane up front. And then you've got Palmer and Saka to come on off the bench and just run ragged and express themselves.
Express yourself. It's one on one. Express yourself. What a fucking tune. Right, enjoy it. We'll be here throughout. I'll be going to the Denmark game. I'll probably try and record something from there. But come on, England, I guess. And Sunderland get fucking man, Julia. Fucking hell. You've already said the boss is delayed, which is fucking irony. Bruce
Before we have a new
Springsteen, the
manager,
mint.
new prime minister before our gaffer.